aboard a Klingon warship.
The Rotarn has been defeated again and again.
Honor has fallen to disgrace. We will not cross the border!
A dangerous situation is developing.
Now, to prevent a mutiny,
Today would be a bad day to die.
will Worf turn on his own commander?
You are a coward.
On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Set phasers to... Well, hell, it's a Klingon episode. We set our phasers to kill at all times. Folks, it's the Depths of DS9. I'm Captain Fist, joined by Lieutenant Commander Gell. I would have used Klingon ranks there, but I'm not sure what Klingon ranks are. How are you, and how excited are you to tear into a Klingon episode, sir?
Kapla! I am ready to give my life for the Empire.
My life for hire.
Folks, it's soldiers of the Empire, and basically the concept here is, as you would expect, I mean, you could pretty much tell what the pitch for the episode was just watching it. Hey, let's have a normal episode of Star Trek, but instead of being on a starship in the Federation, it'll be on a Klingon warship. That's it. Or Klingon, what is it, bird of prey?
Bird of prey,
It's
yes.
a whatever. So, Klingon, and a cool-looking bird of prey, actually. And you get to see a lot of it. In fact, you get to see some of the shots of it several times.
Yeah, I wonder why. It's just, it's a great shot.
Actually, the original idea for this was not quite that. So, Ira Steven Behr presents the idea to, I think it was Ronald Moore, Battlestar Galactica guy. And the idea is exactly what I just described. Oh, it's going to be basically Star Trek Klingon. He runs off. Ronald Moore, he's like, say less. He runs off and he gets this cool idea for, man, I would love to watch this episode. His original pitch is, okay, they're going to go to this abandoned Klingon station. They're supposed to rendezvous at the station that they got to get a distress call from there or something. And they get there and all the Klingons are gone. And they don't know, what's going on with them. They get there and now they go, I guess the station is down on a planet and they see this, fog-drenched lake. And all of a sudden, this one-eyed Klingon boatman comes out across the water and he's gonna bear them through the fog. And they go through the fog. Martok and Worf are gonna go through the fog and they have to pay a coin to the ferryman like the river Styx. And on the other side, they meet Worf's dad and all these long dead warriors and stuff. It was gonna be this crazy metaphysical life and death, just this wild episode. And then Ira Steven Behr helpfully pointed out, hey, it's late in the season, we have no money.
Right.
Oh, well, recycle the Klingon bird of prey sets and it'll just be Star Trek Klingon. So that's what it became, basically.
Soldiers of the Empire was originally going to be a bigger kind of episode where Worf was on this Klingon bird of prey and do a mission, and they come to this planet where a bunch of Klingons had gone missing, and they beam down, and there's just this abandoned outpost, and there's a river, and there's a boatman that comes and throws coins, and it was this very sort of you were going to you've almost found Sto-vo-kor. You found the entrance to the land of the dead, which was fascinating, but it was too much to put in one episode. So eventually that idea sort of lived in Voyager and became the nugget of Barge of the Dead that turned into. With Soldiers of the Empire, the thing that Ira wanted to do, which I thought was great, was, well, let's do a show of Star Trek Klingon. You know, what would an episode of Star Trek Klingon look like? Where you just go on the Klingon ship and tell the whole thing with them and never leave. And that was great, because that gave it a texture and a richness, and I wanted to see how a bird of prey actually operated, because you'd just seen it for bits and pieces in the movies and in various the series, to see little bits of how the bridge would work and these sort of bizarre honor rules. But what would it really be like to be aboard the ship and work there every day and have these sort of characters?
To be fair, I think there was also an argument for not doing that, which is you wanted, the original idea behind the pitch is you want to actually analyze the members of the crew. You wanted to see how life was on a Klingon bird of prey. That was always in the episode, always, even with the wacky River Styx concept. And once you go out into that metaphysical territory, boy, it's hard to get into the interpersonal relationships after that. You know what I mean?
Right,
like, I don't really care about baby mama drama, even if it involves Elon Musk and an e-thought. I don't really care about much at that point, because I'm literally passing through the veil of death. So instead, we start with a slightly more banal setup. And what exactly is that, Taryn, as we begin our episode?
Oh, let's see. General Martok, you know, being clumsy, accidentally falls on,
He trips and falls on a batleth, yeah.
Yeah, he just falls on a batleth.
7 times.
7 times. You know, it's odd why he kept doing it. I guess it's because he's only got the one eye.
Yeah, he's like a Republican senator.
And Julian's patching him up, saying, "Oh, you old fool! Why don't you do correct thing?" And he's like, "No, I'm angry Klingon.
Why don't you use protection next time?"
I'll do wrong thing as many times as I want."
Yes.
But he gets orders. They are interrupted. The Klingon High Council has new orders for him.
Yep, they have orders, and they're nebulous orders at first.
Of course.
And then Worf is doing things with Nog, who hasn't been around in a while. And Nog is being driven up the wall by Worf, because, you know, they're working on the Defiant, right?
Yeah.
Working on the Defiant. How that wound up just being Worf's ship when he didn't design it, and it's really not his, I have no idea. But regardless, they're kind of doing their thing, and Nog is going crazy. And then Martok shows up.
Yes.
And Nog doesn't like Martok any more than he likes Worf, which I kind of like that wrinkle, actually. Nog,
hey, get me the hell out of this room.
Yeah. And Martok, well, he's got a proposal, don't he?
He does. I have,
Martok
orders.
asks Worf to do Klingon things, which is, you know, twist my arm, right?
I want you to come with me. It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
We'll get a few beers. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. There's no catch whatsoever.
3 days ago, the battle cruiser Bemoth began a patrol along the Cardassian border. They have not been heard from since. They are now reported as missing.
It is possible she was destroyed by the Dominion. The Jem'Hadar attacked a Federation starship near the border less than a week ago.
That is our assumption as well, but we must be sure. So I have been given command of a bird of prey, the Rotaran, to conduct a search for the Bemoth. This is the first time I will have led troops in the field since my confinement by the Dominion.
It must be an exciting prospect.
I tell you, Worf, without shame, there were days in that prison camp when the thought that I would never again set foot in a Klingon vessel made me weep like an old woman.
I envy you the days ahead. It will be a glorious adventure.
An adventure that we could share, my friend. I need someone I can trust at my side. Someone whose loyalty I can count on. Worf, son of Moog, I ask you to join me on this mission. As my friend. And as my first officer.
Absolutely not.
No. We're just gonna go find a missing ship. It's fine.
A missing ship. What is it again? What was the name of it?
Oh man, it's the center of the damn episode. I forgot.
Mumbach or
Mumbai.
Mumbari? Mumbai?
Minbari. No. That's
Kunta
the other.
Kinte. I can't remember the name of the ship. It's not super important to the plot or anything, but Bemoth, yes. And so it's been missing. I forget what the circumstances are, but it had passed into like Cardassian/Dominion territory.
Right.
Or was near there.
Yeah, it was nearby and possibly maybe got attacked.
Yeah, I mean, let's take the possibly out of it, because otherwise the episode makes no sense. The long and short of it is, Martok is going to be there, and Worf's like, wow, that sounds freaking great. And Martok's like, yeah, you're coming with. So Worf is going to be the first officer. How is it he always winds up being the first officer, no matter what the circumstances are?
Well, I mean, Martok wasn't going to stick him to be the engineer.
I guess, but you would, don't you have to, work your way up in the Klingon military? But whatever.
It would be funny if he started off as, the cabin boy.
Yes. But that's not the weirdest chain of command thing here for me, bro.
Oh.
Because then he has to get leave from the Federation.
Right.
To go join the Klingon military, right?
Well, I mean, they're allied. It's,
But Cisco grants Worf a hall pass, because apparently you can just do that now. Cisco could just do it.
Maybe it works like the JSDF?
He didn't even have to ask an admiral. They made clear he didn't ask an admiral. So Cisco could just unilaterally just rent his freaking crew members out to foreign militaries? What? That made no sense to me.
The Federation likes to play it loose, you know?
Right? I think Admiral Ira Stephen Bear okayed that one. I think that's what happened. So, of course, he gets greenlit. He's going, he's all dressed up in his Klingon regalia, and he's headed out the airlock, and he thinks he's saying goodbye to Jadzia, and she keeps right on following him. Why exactly?
He forgot to feed her, so he has to go back and put a bowl down, just, empty up a whole bag of trill food into it.
Right.
That'll last you about a week.
Yep.
I do not wish to have a lengthy goodbye.
I wasn't planning on having one.
Good. Jadzia,
Yes.
I think it would be better to part company here on the station.
Oh, I'm coming with you.
What?
The Rotaran is short-handed, and I still have 4 months' leave coming. And I've already cleared it with Martok and Benjamin. I'm your new science officer.
Why did you not tell me?
It's more fun this way. And after getting a good look at a couple members of the Rotaran's crew, I don't think we're going to be having a lot of fun on this mission.
Nope, it's it being a Klingon episode. Naturally, Dax has to be ham-fisted into it, and so she's gonna tag along, because what else has she got going? This is what I'm talking about, guys. When people push back on the Jadzia warrior princess being bad for the character, this is kind of what I mean. When's the last time Dax mattered? A Klingon episode. Now she matters in the episode. Now she gets a lot to play with, and why? Because it's another Klingon episode. I do not care for the Worf Jadzia thing because of how, not because it's bad for Worf. I actually think it was good for Worf. I think it's bad for Jadzia.
Right, because we made this argument before in previous episodes here. She becomes dependent on Worf. She becomes a limb. Yeah. And that's bad writing. That's bad for the character.
Even though they do go girl boss with her, it's like, that doesn't really disabuse you of her narrative utility, which is now she's just an appendage to Worf. And this becomes a problem because I feel like they just slam the brakes on her character development, period. And then she lives happily ever after.
The end.
And nothing bad happens at the end of season 6. At all, I assure you.
And she goes to live on a farm.
Yes! With the rabbits, George.
Oh.
With the hutch for the rabbits. So they head on to the ship, and Dax kind of acclimates herself with the different Klingon crew members. How did you feel about how well they differentiated between the different Klingon crew members who were introduced to right off the bat?
Now, right away, I understand what you're going for. One, I like how diversified the crew is.
Yeah, they look different.
I love that they all look different. Now,
Because you watch, like, dude, what was the Star Trek movie with Christopher Lloyd?
Oh, yeah. That one's like, okay, there's like
20 crew members, and
they
all
all
look
look the same.
All look
All
the
of them.
same, all the same clothes, all the same makeup, right? A lot of Klingons.
I will say they fixed that though.
Yeah.
Of course, by the last one, Undiscovered Country,
right.
which the crew actually stood out. They all looked a little bit different.
Right.
But as for this crew, they do look diversified, but I will say they missed their second point, which I believe Ira Stephen Bear wanted the crew to look tough.
Yeah.
They wanted to be like pirates and like, don't mess with these guys, and that kind of falls flat.
I think he's right, and I did hear that. Is Ira Stephen Bear kind of felt like the episode didn't go far enough. It's sort of like with Let He Is Who Is Without Sin, the episode where they go down to Razör, and it's like, oh, we're going to be sexy, but we can't be sexy because it's a Star Trek episode, right? So they can't go as far as they need to make the episode work, and it's kind of the same thing with this. It feels like an episode of Star Trek. It doesn't feel like an episode of Klingon. And that's kind of... I think I agree with Ira Stephen Bear on that a little bit. It's still a good episode, but we'll talk about how it actually stacks up at the end of the day. But I agree, they don't come across as... It's like they throw in that little line about the one dude whose voice sounds really familiar, probably a famous voice actor.
Right.
Who has the Cardassian neckbone necklace.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but have Cardassians been that hard to kill up until this point? Number one. But number two, they just look like Klingons. They don't look like uber Klingons or anything. You know what they should do? They should turn them into giant reptilian-looking tools, like in Star Trek Discovery, huh? Then they'd be space lizards. What?
Thank God that mess is over.
Space orcs. Whatever you want.
No, that's space racist.
Yeah. So how do you feel? Like, I definitely feel like not only visually, but in terms of their actual character, I could distinguish between the different crew members a little bit better.
Yeah, they stood out a lot more. I mean, I was surprised that the female engineer had like red hair, and there was the helm guy, or I forget who he was, but he had like blondish hair.
Right, it was a blonde one, and dude with white hair. Everybody looks
distinct.
It definitely looks distinct. They were not throwaway generic Klingons.
Right.
And it of course hammers home the primary distinguishing factor of this crew, which we learn very, very quickly. Worf takes the bridge and he asks for a battle record, and he is handed the longest list of failures this side of the Italian Navy. They are losers. They are the Chicago Cubs of Klingon. Well, Pittsburgh Pirates, I guess. Chicago Cubs have won the World Series in the last 30 years. So.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. They could be the Mets.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Apparently, Martok inherited the Pittsburgh Pirates of the Klingon Empire, and they haven't won in I forget how many engagements they say, but it's
like
a lot.
6 or 7.
It's a lot.
It's been a while.
And they're getting away. I really thought, I mentioned this to you while we were watching it, I really felt like there was going to be more to the plot, where like, okay, there's one guy who's like almost delighting in the fact that they're losing. What if he's like a double agent who's like feeding their location to the Jem'Hadar or the Dominion, like in exchange for, we won't die, but I'll benefit in some way, and you can just know where we are and whatever, right? I thought they were gonna go that way, but no, it's just he's just a shit stirrer. That's all. he's just Nelson Muntz. So
well, you gotta nuke something.
Yep. So they take the bridge and all of that, and I have to say, Martok is almost never on the bridge the entire episode.
He's always in his ready room or whatever.
That was one of the things that Ira Stephen Bear said, by the way, before we completely move off of the they don't look tough enough thing.
Right.
The problem with the episode is Martok, as we learn very quickly, is not aggressive enough against the Jem'Hadar. He's gun shy because he was in captivity and freaking tortured by the Jem'Hadar. He's traumatized.
Yeah,
and that becomes clear as the episode goes on. But here's the problem. He's the toughest looking Klingon on the ship.
Yeah, there's that would be the problem.
Everybody on the ship looks like a wimp next to Martok, and Martok is supposed to be a pussy.
It was a 2-episode character. There was no thought about extent, as far as I know. And Martok got blown up at the end of the 2nd episode. So I guess there was some sort of chemistry or relationship that developed with Worf, between Martok and Worf, that they liked, that brought him back. I don't think they knew that Martok was on a prison asteroid somewhere, getting the beep knocked out of him by Jem'Hadar. They developed that idea. And Ron Moore wrote a phenomenal episode of DS9, Soldiers of the Empire, which really solidified the character, and I'm ever in his debt. And Iris. Terrific people. I think the show had a lot of heart, and I think it comes from the top, and Ira had, as the showrunner, as the executive producer on that one, terrific, huge heart. It's hard for him to let it go, I think. He kept finding reasons to go to dinner with the people in the cast, afterwards, finding little excuses to, and he's a very cool guy.
One of the things I think really hurts it is that because Martok locks himself away, there's really no interaction between him and the crew. And thinking back on it, I think the only interaction he has with the crew is when he first comes aboard and receives, the pad with, the histories or whatever.
Yep.
And then when he gives orders to the helmsman, and then that's it.
Yep. That's it.
That's it.
And so it makes the whole mutiny thing feel a little out of nowhere. Because it's like, bro, they've already lost. They're already like 7-0.
They're gonna mutiny now.
Yeah, why would this be the one where they mutiny? You know what I mean? Like, what's special about this one? You just got a general. At least let him roll the dice before you wind up mutiny. It just seems to come out of nowhere. But it's not like he doesn't give them ample reason for doing so, because almost immediately they have a Jem'Hadar dead to rights. They're cloaked, and they have a Jem'Hadar cruiser dead to rights, dead in their sights. But Martok decides to try some French military tactics, and he runs away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you mean prudence.
Yes.
What are they doing here, this far from the Cardassian border?
They're conducting active Polaron scans of this sector. It's likely they're on some kind of reconnaissance mission.
Can their scans penetrate our cloak?
I'd say there's less than a 3% chance of detection.
What's our weapon status?
Torpedo bays are loaded. Warheads are armed. Disruptors are locked on target.
They've increased speed. They're beginning to pull away. Shall I match velocity?
No. Take us back to our original course.
Forgive this unworthy officer's poor hearing. But what was your order?
Take us back to our original course.
He has... The tough part about this, too, is his explanations for not attacking the Jem'Hadar actually do hold water. You're going after the ship. That's your priority. If you attack them and they are able to get off a distress call, yeah, you're going to have problems. They're going to be able to alert other Jem'Hadar ships who could possibly trail you, and now they know there is a cloaked Klingon ship in the area. They can comb the area for you. Like, he's not wrong.
And they may end up finding the behemoth instead of you.
Exactly. Like, he's actually... This is another problem, is like... I understand you want to slowly reveal how traumatized he is, but it's like, yeah, maybe we should have led with that a little bit.
Right.
Maybe we should have led with his trauma just a bit more, because otherwise you find yourself sympathizing with Martok even afterward in his quarters, in Martok's quarters. Worf confronts him, right? And Martok's arguments are good. His arguments actually make sense. So it's like even Worf kind of has to admit, yeah, okay, I got you, whatever. I kind of see it. And they kind of try to manufacture this tension between Worf and Martok, and it's like, it doesn't really work because Martok has a point. And that's always a problem when you want to lead the episode in one direction, but you kind of give the guy a point. It just doesn't work. But either way, the crew, man, they go from 0 to mutiny really fast.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it?
They're hanging out, like, what is it, like the second meal scene?
Yeah, the second one.
They have one meal scene where Dax who cannot be bad at anything. She's not allowed to be bad at anything Klingon.
Right.
So, oh, hey, everyone, I'm going to talk about Klingon cuisine. And oh, ho, ho, and I guess this would be good with blood wine. I guess it's good I brought 3 barrels aboard. Like, when? But she's going to be good at everything. And then the very next meal scene, which I think is just 2 scenes later.
Yeah, she's just in the mess hall with 2 or 3 other Klingons.
Yep. And and one of them is lit. And so he starts the shit stirrer.
Yeah.
He's flying off at the mouth. Oh, Martok is afraid. Martok's a coward. He's going to lead us to our deaths. Blah, blah, blah.
And then the third guy sitting at the damn table just goes berserk, leaps over the table.
Yep, they have a fiery, mostly peaceful crew, and it's a
wailing on him, yeah.
Full-on riot. So, it's a summer of love, really, is what it is. And so the guy, Dax breaks it up with a phaser blast. Probably the only phaser to be set on stun in the history of that ship. Let's be real. It's a Klingon ship, folks. And so she runs into Worf in the hall, and her uniform is covered with blood, as you do. And this I think is the most obnoxious thing about Dax in this episode. And she's pretty obnoxious in this episode. She has this grating tendency to Klingon-splain to Worf.
I had to take Ortican to surgery. Cornyn almost killed him.
Why?
Because Lesket was drunk.
I do not understand.
No, you don't understand. Because you're too busy worrying about Martok while the crew is falling apart. Cornyn needed to attack someone, and he lost control. But this is only the beginning. This crew has lost 6 separate actions to the Jem'Hadar. The casualty list is as long as my arm, and now they're serving under a man who seems to have left more behind than just an eye in that prison camp.
Do not speak of the captain in that manner. Not while I am first officer.
Look, I like Martok, but this crew needs a leader. Someone who will remind them of their duty as soldiers of the Empire.
He said it!
And they need that leader right now, or I promise you they will explode.
It will not come to that. I know Martok. He is a great man. He will not fail us, but we must give him time.
Time may be the one thing we don't have, Worf.
It's so annoying and this will not be the only time she does it this episode, and it won't be the last time in the series.
No, it's just like what? When did you turn into the expert on Klingons? Okay, you had one host who liked Klingons. What is this? Like, one of your hosts was a fantastic classical music composer. I don't hear you talking about violin concertos. Like,
or composing sonnets.
Yeah, like, what in the hell? But every single time we have a Klingon episode, Dax has to launch into this insufferable Klingon-splaining thing. So she's Klingon-splaining to Worf and anyone else within earshot about, oh, you're going to be dealing with a mutiny. Sorry, this is going to become very, very dangerous very, very soon. As if Worf wouldn't know. You know what I mean? It takes some of the wind out of the sails of Worf. It makes Worf seem a little hapless and clueless, actually, in the episode. If I'm being perfectly honest, there are times Worf is just like, derp, you know what I mean? But they do, ultimately, right after that, they find the ship, but Martok decides to wait for SpaceX. He's gonna let SpaceX make the rescue.
We can't afford it right now.
Elon Musk will handle it. He'll rescue him from the international space. Are those people back, by the way?
No, I don't think so.
They're gonna die there, aren't they?
God, I hope not.
Anyways, apparently they're having like health problems at the because you're in a weightless environment for that many months, bro.
Yeah, you're not supposed to. People don't. I mean, we're talking about real world shit, but yeah, you're not supposed to be up there for extended periods of time.
Yeah. So he refuses to go there because apparently she said, what did Dax say? Because of course she's the expert on this too. The ship must have about 2 days previous. The whatever its momentum carried it across into Cardassian space.
Right, they got into a fight and they just drifted into Cardassian space. And she does correctly point out that, or no, it's Worf that correctly points out, look, it doesn't matter what side of the border we're on. The Jem'Hadar don't give a fuck.
Exactly. They're going to attack you anyways. And Martok points out, and once again, he does have a point, that the Council explicitly said, don't go into Cardassian space. So this is one of the recurrent problems, although by this point, it is much more apparent that Martok is afraid of the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah.
Because now we've had, which is probably the best scene in the whole episode, and it's totally carried by Martok.
There could be many explanations. The Bemoth could have inflicted heavy damage on the Jem'Hadar ships, forcing them to withdraw. The Jem'Hadar could have been recalled to...
Is it that I have only one eye, but I can see more clearly than anyone around me? They deliberately left survivors on that ship. Why? Because they want someone to try to rescue them. Oh, do not take this personally, my friend. I spent 2 years with the Jem'Hadar. I do not expect you to have the same insight into them that I do. They're soulless creatures, Worf. Fighting for no goal, no purpose except to serve the Founders. They take no pleasure in what they do. Nothing is glorified, nothing affirmed. To the Jem'Hadar, we are nothing more than targets to be destroyed. I must not let them destroy us,
With
Worf.
all due respect, General, we do not know the tactical situation of the Bemoth yet. We should guard against making any premature judgments.
Of course.
Worf confronts Martok in his captain's quarters. And it is just abundantly clear that Martok is like having Nom flashbacks.
Yeah.
Of having been captured.
You don't know them like I do. They're soulless. They're
in the walls! And I love the line reading where Martok sits down and like glowers at him, and you can just see he's like reliving the rape of Nanking in his head, and he just goes, dismissed. Right? Like, oh, dude, it's so good. So good. There's a lot of cool stuff, and actually, Martok, I think... one of many, many things that were originally in the CD-ROM game Star Trek Klingon was Martok. He wasn't playing Martok, but J.G. Hertzler, the actor,
right.
He was originally cast in that CD-ROM game, which was directed by Jonathan Frakes. And earlier in the episode, we didn't mention it, but, Worf tries to get the morale going for the crew. And so they sing this song. Just a little Klingon, like, sea shanty, essentially. And the song is, and I remember it. I was like, that seems familiar. It's originally from, mind you, the Star Trek Klingon thing. It's not like this was in the episode and then they put it in the game. No, they took this from the game because they didn't want to have to write a new song. Which I love that, dude. Like, this is now something from a video game and it's canonical in Star Trek now. I love that kind of stuff. So Hertzler winds up getting the role of Martok because of being in that game, and now that Klingon battle chant, essentially, is now in the show. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. But that scene in particular is just superb. But pretty soon, like, it's nut-cutting time. Martok finally goes on the bridge for, like, only the second time in the episode. And he is just not going to go rescue them.
Nope.
And he's going to have anyone who questions his orders executed for insubordination or something like that.
He literally says treason. Like, treason. Hey, if you dare say one more word, I am going to turn this ship around.
Yep. And Worf basically says, I'm going to have to challenge him, and that means I might have to kill him. Because, I mean, you're on a Klingon ship, bro. You're on a Klingon ship. And I do like that they treat it that way. Like, it's actually kind of a battle. And sure enough, within the next scene, Worf decides he's going to take him in to go rescue the ship. Anyways,
yep.
Martok shows up on the ship. What the fuck is this? And the Star Trek Gorn music starts up.
What's going on here?
As first officer, I say that you are unfit to serve as captain.
You what?
You are a coward, and I challenge you for command of the ship.
I never would have expected this from you, Worf.
And they whip out their... What are the daggers called, by the way? I always forget what they're called.
I actually want to look it up.
There's Batleth, Metleth, and it's something else. There is a name for it. But the little dagger, the little Klingon daggers, and they have a little Klingon dagger fight on the bridge.
Daktang.
Right, okay. And they have their little fight, and it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good fight. They go back and forth. It looks like Worf has won. And then Worf, for no apparent reason, like lifts his hand above his... Like, it's obvious that he's opening his guard for freaking Martok, even if you don't know it. Like, you don't need it explained after the fact. That's how obvious it is. He raises the dagger up above his head, and then Martok shanks him right in the guts. And so, essentially, he gets a call from Jake Paul and throws the fight. And so he wanders off. He shows his ass like Mike Tyson, and then Dax hauls him off to the infirmary, while Martok, with the sort of bloodlust in his veins, now decides, hey, let's go kick that Jem'Hadar's ass. Which, by the way, I believe the Jem'Hadar suddenly show up in the middle of that fight, too.
Yeah, they'll be in weapons range in 9 minutes.
So now they decide they're going to kick the Jem'Hadar's ass, which, what have those Jem'Hadar been doing the entire time? And this was a part that you pointed out, dude. Like, okay, they show the ship, like, turning around and getting ready to fire, and you're expecting there to be a big battle scene with the Jem'Hadar, and...
They cut back to DS9.
That's it!
That's it.
Can you tell we're late in the season? We have no more budget. We're saving it all for the finale. What was the duplicated shot? There were like 2 of them, weren't there?
It was just a flyby. They're in warp, and so it just shows the side of the ship in warp, and they do that like twice.
It is a cool looking ship.
No, it's great, yeah. But still, it's like, you're gonna fire maybe once?
Yeah, no kidding! No kidding! So the implication is they wind up kicking the Jem'Hadar's ass and saving the remaining crew of the ship, although they never really do specify how many people survived. And then Bashir is reading over intelligence reports, a little foreshadowing to his future very shortly here. And he's like, hey, O'Brien, you want to hear about these? And O'Brien's like, no, that's all right. Just, I'm going to go back to my loveless marriage and quietly hating my wife.
And drinking.
Yeah, and drinking. And hating the Cardis. And suddenly, they're hailed. And who is it?
It is General Martok's ship returning from glorious battle.
And they done had kicked the Jem'Hadar's ass, and they're ordering blood wine, and everyone's going to get a commendation. And Martok and Worf meet in Quark's bar. And Martok basically lets him know, yeah, bro, I know that you raised your guard, you lowered your guard, because, like, hello, everyone could see that. And Worf basically says, yeah, you saved my life once. In a scene that we didn't film, by the way, that was annoying. This is always clunky writing. I mean, let's be real. Worf and Martok haven't actually interacted much prior to this episode. They actually haven't. He had interacted more with Changeling Martok before this.
Yeah.
They had one episode together before this. So they kind of have to write in a friendship that the writers haven't earned, which is always awkward, but, you know, they do it in their own way. So the episode, the fantastic episode that we've already covered here on the Depths of DS9, where they're all imprisoned in the Jem'Hadar prison colony, and Worf is fighting the Jem'Hadar lieutenant or whatever in the death ring. And so Worf launches into this soliloquy about an entire situation where he had been fighting for days on end, and he had decided that he was going to let them kill him. and he looked into Martok's eyes, and they had a moment of warrior's clarity, and I knew in that moment I would not let myself be killed. Right? And to quote Commander Sisko, it's a wonderful story. There's just one little problem. It never happened. It's just a scene that didn't exist.
Yeah, you didn't include that in the log. It was personal.
Yeah, it was personal.
Yeah, when they say it was personal and nobody heard about it before, that's because,
they were on vacation.
well, the writers just made it up.
I mean, whatever. Like I said, Martok and Worf have barely interacted to this point, so you kind of have to give them a stronger bond. And of course, we're really gonna bond them here at the end of this episode, because as Worf is preparing to kind of move away from the conversation, Martok points out, "Oh, you're still wearing the crest of the House of Moog, even though it's a dishonored house." And Worf kind of points out, "Yeah, Jadzia says I'm just sentimental about it." And he's like, "Why don't you replace this crest with what, Terran?"
With the crest of the House of Martok.
Your actions on the Rotaran. At the time, I thought they were disloyal. But I've come to realize that your intention was to remind me of my duty as a soldier of the Empire.
There it is! There it is!
And as a warrior. For that, I am grateful.
You did the same for me once.
Worf. On the bridge, during the fight, when you dropped your guard, how did you know I would not kill you?
I did not know.
I see you're still wearing the crest of the House of Moog.
Yes. Jadzia calls it a sentimental gesture.
Perhaps you would consider replacing sentiment with the symbol of a new beginning. The House of Martok would be honored to welcome the son of Moog into our family as a warrior and as a brother.
And this actually becomes a big deal.
It does.
In season six and 7, this becomes a big deal for Worf being connected with the House of Martok. This is a pretty significant plot development, actually. So, and that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yep.
And how do you feel, Taryn, about Soldiers of the Empire in the overall?
Honestly, I love all this. I'm a sucker for like lore of the species
Right.
of Star Trek, and I love that we get to see more of the inside of a Klingon ship and how it runs. We got one of these episodes in Next Gen with Commander Riker, when this actually happened with him before, so there's precedent. There was that exchange program where
Right.
the Enterprise got a Klingon officer, and Jonathan Frakes' character Riker went over to the Klingon ship. Mm-hmm. It was pretty good.
It was good. I remember that episode.
Here we get more of it.
Yeah.
We get
And it's more Klingons, except for Dax.
except for Jax. Sloppy here and there, you know, the Jem'Hadar showing up at just the right time.
Right.
And some things are a bit too convenient, but hey, that's writing. We gotta, the episode's gotta go on, right?
Yeah, and the smaller budget shows.
Yeah.
It definitely shows. It's like,
That's a bummer.
one of the big problems is it's called Soldiers of the Empire, and let's be real, they never do any soldiering. They don't.
Yeah.
There's no battle in this. There's none. All the battle is off screen because we don't have the budget and everyone's tired and it's late in the season and we're saving all our energy for the finale. Let's be real. That's what happened there. So I think that hurts the episode. I really do. I think I agree with some of Ira Stephen Bear's criticisms that they didn't go far enough in some places. It's not Klingon enough. It's kind of Star Trek. It's a little bit antiseptic. And compared to other Klingon episodes that came before and ones that are coming in the future, like, dude, this is nothing compared to Way of the Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
This is nothing compared to Sword of Kahless. Like, this is absolutely nothing compared to those banger episodes. But I still don't think it's bad. I give it like a 3.5 I might give it a 3 out of 5, just right in the middle. Right in the middle for me. I might even go a little higher because some of the Klingon stuff is more fun, but I'm sticking with just, it's okay. It's satisfactory. I go 3 out of 5 for me. What about you?
I would go 3.5. Same, but for different reasons. I would go 3.5.
Well, you're more into Klingons. I could see you going 4 for crying out loud.
But that's the problem. It falls short.
Yeah.
We don't actually get to see a lot of Klingon shit. Like,
Right.
we're on the bridge and in the mess hall. We don't get a fight. We don't get a proper fight.
Yeah.
We don't get a battle in space. We don't get any of that.
Yeah.
It builds up, but it doesn't deliver.
Yeah, it's like a Klingon episode, but it's mostly a psychodrama with Martok.
So, yeah.
And we don't even get that much Martok.
I would put it in at 3. Yeah, that sounds about right.
3 out of 5. It's just kind of right there. I don't know. I expected more from this episode, I think, is my main thing. I will say, what would you say the high points are? To me, I think the high point of the episode is Michael Dorn. I think Worf is great in this episode.
Definitely. He definitely sells the episode. I can see him being torn with his loyalty and friendship to Martok, to his duty.
Yeah.
And he displays that really well. Even early on, he's super understanding. But,
yes. And Martok is fantastic. He's fantastic. But that's the problem. He's so grizzled and he's such a vet. I just don't buy that he's a coward. I just don't buy it for a minute. It never quite hits home. I love other things, like the female engineer character's kind of cool, and the shit stirrer guy is great. But man, this episode doesn't have much else going on for it except for a really cool model of a Klingon bird of prey.
All right.
But Soldiers of the Empire, folks, kind of unexpectedly middling effort for such a good concept. Definitely watchable, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not a bad episode. It's not even close to being a bad episode. But just, I don't know. I expected more. It's very, very sad. But, fortunately, a fantastic season is not over yet. And so we will be back, I promise, in a bit less time, for yet another edition of the Depths of DS9. I am Captain Fist for Lieutenant Commander Gell, rather. Engage!
Doctor, thank you. If you really want to thank me, don't walk in here dripping blood anymore. It takes days to get it out of the carpet.